The world of EDC has changed a lot since I started this YouTube channel, and especially in the last 3 to 4 years, which makes it really easy to fall into some traps. So here are some of the common EDC mistakes that I see people falling for, and avoiding these can help save you time, money, frustration, and even space in your pockets. So with that said, let's do the damn thing. One of the biggest mistakes that you can fall into with EDC is buying into the hype of new gear. Whether it's a new knife steel, a brand new cool knife design, or a multi-tool that's gonna change the world. And sure, at the end of the day, a lot of those are really cool and you can appreciate it, have fun, enjoy that product, but fast forward a few weeks or months and the EDC world is gonna be on to the next thing. The newest, the latest, the greatest. And trust me, I get how hypocritical it may sound for me to be saying this, but let me explain. My job is to seek out the new, the cool, upcoming, innovative stuff, and then I have to cut through that and find the stuff that I think is gonna have staying power, stuff that's really interesting and not just like a flash in the pan. It's up to you to watch that content and decide what actually matters to you. I can't cater every single video to you and your needs. I have to think about the entire market and the entire industry, so I end up talking a lot about expensive things. Sometimes we talk about budget gear, but I can't focus on just one thing. Imagine, for example, there's a car YouTube channel and the only thing they review is budget cars. That doesn't really sound all that interesting, even though I'm never gonna buy a supercar, right? I have no plans in my future to buy a $400,000 Ferrari, but I still like to watch that. So I have to find the balance in between the cool, that's really expensive and innovative, and that some of you may never ever buy, and also the stuff that's worth keeping around, the budget stuff that just punches above its weight. And finding the balance in there can be a little bit tricky. And trying not to ride the hype can also be pretty tricky, even from my perspective. And I'm not immune to it at all. I have definitely fallen prey to riding the hype several times over. The best thing you can do is when there's something new that you're really wanting really bad, is to take a step back and ask yourself, is this gonna change your carry, improve what you're carrying, or is it just gonna make you happy? Sometimes that's all that really matters. It doesn't have to change your life, but you have to ask yourself, am I actually gonna continue to carry this, use this, or I'm gonna carry it for a few weeks and then toss it in a drawer and forget about it? Because a lot of the time, we're kind of in this for the thrill of the chase because there's a lot of limited stock drops pretty frequently in this industry. There's stuff that's really hard to buy, like an Unimzon, which is one of my favorite knives. If they pop up, even though I have 2 of them, I still feel drawn to buy another one because they're hard to get. And I think that's just the thrill of the chase. I don't need a 3rd Unimzon, but I still want one because it's hard to get. It's hard to not get excited over the things that other people in the same industry are getting excited about. It's just kind of human nature to be more excited about things that other people are excited about. And you have to step back and remember that this is a very personal thing and that your carry is different from somebody else's carry. You have to just separate yourself from the hype and take a moment to ask yourself, do I really need this? A lot of the time, the answer is no. It's not worth it, and you might just toss this in a drawer or sell it 2 months down the road, which if you were buying things just to try new stuff, get your hands on it, feel if you're gonna like it, and send it on if you know that there could be a potential to sell it, sure, that's your game plan. But people who buy because other people are buying it often find themselves less than satisfied with their entire collection because they're always chasing something and always looking to the next thing versus being happy with what they've got. And this is kind of on the same topic, but a little bit separate, but it's definitely related. For the love of all things that are holy, do not go into debt to buy that one knife. Like, it's not worth it. If you are chasing a grail knife and that knife comes up, maybe it's worth taking a step back, selling off a bunch of things that you haven't used in a long time to purchase that one big thing. But companies like Shopify and many other platforms out there, Klarna, have made it super easy to do everything in installments and buy things that you might not ought to buy. And there have been more than one stories that I've heard, direct and through other people, of people getting in way over their heads with buying new gear. Payments that, rival that of like car payments, which is insane for knives. So don't go into debt for a new knife. Not worth it. The next mistake that you should avoid is not reevaluating your carry. It's really nice to settle into a true EDC. a carry that you grab every single day and it doesn't change. And coming from the guy who talks about everyday carry for a living, I think I'm probably further from that than anybody because I'm literally always changing my gear. It's a little bit frustrating and a bit of irony there, but the entire point of EDC is to hone all this gear and select the stuff that suits your daily needs and makes your day-to-day easier or better, just improves your day-to-day. That's the entire purpose of EDC. So eventually you will get to a point where you find a combination of things that are perfect, that you don't feel like you have to change out or upgrade or rotate, and this is just your core gear. And I've actually kind of gotten close to that a time or two. Those were the days. But if you ever reach that point, one, you're lucky, and two, enjoy it and maybe pump the brakes a little bit. Settle into that carry and stop looking at everything. Stop worrying about all the changes you can make and what other people are carrying. Enjoy that you have reached a point where you are happy and satisfied with what you've got. However, after some time, it's actually a really good thing to reevaluate that carry. Maybe it's a month or 6 months or a year to look back at what you've got, see if there are any holes, see if you've missed something that actually could improve your day-to-day, but also see if you are carrying something that you've actually not ended up using. You know, you convince yourself when you're going through all this stuff that you're going to use this all the time, and then fast forward 6 months and you've used it 2 or 3 times. That's something that maybe should be moved to a bag or a truck or your desk or somewhere else that you don't need on your person. You're saving yourself some weight if you leave it behind because you don't actually use it. That's not to say that you can't have things that you just carry because you enjoy them. Pocket trash and pocket jewelry, those are things that nobody actually really ever uses, but if it makes you happy, carry it. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way or that you shouldn't carry certain things, but you should reevaluate what you're carrying every so often to see if you're wasting pocket space or carrying more than you need to. So take inventory, see if there are any holes or if you're carrying too much. But then also try to take the same philosophy that we use for EDC and apply it to other things in your life, like your backpack that you may or may not carry every day, your wallet, for example. Like, you can really condense your wallet and then carry a second one that you keep in a bag or your truck. Apply it to your vehicle or your camping gear or your travel bag. It's a very simple concept that if you apply it to these other things in your life, you can actually find room for improvement in a lot of different areas. And I think it will take away from the constant need to improve your everyday carry. You've settled that. You know what you're carrying there. Now apply this concept elsewhere in your life, and it actually can help quite a bit. And to that point, when you are reevaluating your EDC, look at all the things that you haven't carried or used in that time, and it might be time to declutter and sell some of those things. I've actually been doing this on Whatnot lately. It's a live streaming platform where I go on there and I sell all of my old gear that's just been collecting dust. So if you're in the market for some gently used secondhand stuff, we will be live streaming later this week. Go find me on Whatnot at Damn EDC. Come hang out. It's a fun time, even if you don't want to buy secondhand stuff. I'm just live streaming, and Ricky's probably going to be eating some pickled eggs.
Give me a hell yeah!
Yeah, hell yeah. But yeah, maybe you should also consider selling off some of your stuff, be it through Reddit or my Discord or Facebook group or wherever. I also highly recommend Whatnot. It was a lot of fun, very easy, simple to set up. So check it out down below. And just to be clear, that was not an ad. That was not a sponsored post. I'm just using Whatnot and it's fun. All right, this next one I'm sure is going to trigger somebody at some point, somehow. They'll take it the wrong way, but the next mistake is being afraid to use your gear. I am a huge proponent of using your shit, despite all of the flack that I catch online from people saying that all of my gear looks totally pristine. Ricky will be the first to attest. I don't baby any of my stuff, and I'm pretty hard on equipment. I break a lot of things, pretty regularly. It's just always been my thing. But I also rotate gear so frequently that a lot of the stuff I carry doesn't have time to show any kind of wear because I use something for a day or two and then I'm on to the next. I spend a lot of my time making videos about the stuff rather than being out using the stuff and doing the stuff I would rather be doing, like taking care of the massive amount of projects I have piling up at home. I would really like to knock some of those out. I'm not here to preach or to tell you how you should or shouldn't use your gear. There is nothing wrong with being a collector and appreciating the craftsmanship of knives and the artistic value of, whatever, high-end customs. I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong. There is no right or wrong, and it's totally fine to have a complete collection of safe queens. There's nothing wrong with that at all. The point I'm trying to make is that it seems that at least in part of the EDC world, people seem to forget that these things are tools. A knife is a tool, just as a pen or a multi-tool or a pair of pliers or a screwdriver. They're all tools. We just happen to carry them in our pockets. And it's like some people feel that they have to really kind of protect their investment if you're using, you know, a $300–400 knife. I understand not wanting to break it, but it is easy to forget that these things are tools. But the reason we're buying these expensive knives and tools, yeah, sure, there's an appreciation for the craftsmanship or art or whatever, but also you're buying premium materials, which inherently should mean that these tools are better at handling the jobs. A more expensive knife doesn't necessarily cut better than a budget knife with low-end steel, but it has better edge retention. Premium handles like titanium, which can handle the abuse better than, say, a liner lock. You're paying for a tool that can handle the abuse and hard use better than something that is much cheaper. It's the entire reason that Snap-on is what Snap-on is. You don't have to agree with Snap-on, but they do make really, really great tools. So you're paying for that. They are built to be stronger. They're meant to be used. So you don't have to be afraid of using your tools. You don't have to use them. Nobody's telling you that you have to, but don't be afraid to. At the end of the day, it's still just a tool. And since we were just on the topic of premium materials, we might as well go back. The next mistake that a lot of people make in the EDC world, and I do mean a lot of people, is focusing too much on specifications and what steel a knife may use. That's not to say that it's not important and that it doesn't carry any weight whatsoever. It does. However, focusing on premium steels is a never-ending road to sadness. Nobody who focuses on these steels is ever happy with anything. Am I right? Right. Everybody, they're just all curmudgeons. Stop being a knife steel snob. You can be a snob if you want, but don't push it on anybody else, okay? We are in a time in the knife world where even budget knives now are using a steel that was reserved for high-end customs just 8 or 9 years ago. And the steels that are considered old and dated, like S35 VN, are still phenomenal. They're great steels. They're not super steels by today's standard, but they are still really good steels that are way above and beyond what most of us ever need. We cut open Amazon packages, and that's really it. And even those of you out there who abuse the crap out of your knives, nobody really needs S35 VN for that. That's not to say that you shouldn't worry about the steel or care about the steel that's in the knife blade, but it shouldn't be a sticking point that keeps you from buying an otherwise perfect knife for you. So many times I see people say something like, if only X knife had X steel, it would be perfect. When in reality, that person is only gonna get that knife in, flip it a few hundred times, open a couple of boxes, throw it in a drawer, and then never even have to touch up the edge before they send it along to the next person who's going to over scrutinize the steel because it's not Magna Cut or it's some outdated S35 VN. Blade still matters, for sure. It's not something that is completely irrelevant, but it's not as important as so many people try to make it out to be. And it's okay to be a nerd about it, but not every single knife has to be Magna Cut or some super steel with perfect specs. That's kind of like, it sucks the fun out of everything. If you spend just a few minutes at like a blade show talking to makers or people who actually really get out and use their knives, they actually don't like Magna Cut. They don't like a lot of these super steels because they're harder to work with, they're harder to put an edge on, they are really hard to field sharpen. It's not something that people who really actually use them or work with the steels like. They use Magna Cut because people out there are begging for it. But in reality, all of us, I don't mean some of us, I mean literally all of us would be totally fine with something like Nitro V. In fact, I really love Nitro V. I think it's a great steel and super underrated. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say about blade steels. Moving on. The next mistake is not understanding how to use your gear. And I've quoted this several times. I first heard this quote from my friend Shane Adams, who used to work at SE Knives, and he was quoting somebody else, which I didn't realize at the time. Morris Kahansky, who is the godfather of bushcrafting, he said, "The more you know, the less you have to carry. The less you know, the more you have to carry." And that quote has stuck with me so much. And it became super relevant when we were pushing around the cart at Blade Show. We've done it now twice, Blade Show West last year and Blade Show East this year. We're pushing around the cart. People are just running the board with various arrays of gear. Some people come with tool bags. And then we have Bug Out Bob, who ran the board almost entirely with nothing more than a single knife, just a bug out. Now, Bob obviously didn't turn bolts with his bug out, although he got kind of close. But we had people doing this board with Knipex, and they couldn't turn a hex bolt, which is literally what the Knipex is meant for. And the reason that some of these people struggled, more than one person struggled with Knipex, is because they didn't even realize that they're directional. The Cobra pliers and the pliers wrench from Knipex are directional. If you turn them one way, they will open. The handles will literally open themselves as you try to turn, so you're fighting the tool instead of doing anything to the nut or the bolt. If you turn that tool over and turn in the same direction, so flip it over and turn in the same direction, the handles will actually close together. The tool will close on itself, making it easier to turn the nut or the bolt. And just that simple little thing is the difference between you actually being able to use the tool that you're carrying and not at all, because it's literally fighting you. You see people walking around all the time, posting pictures in the Facebook group and all over, these EDC people who have over-encumbered bags full of tools and redundancies. And then sometimes they pull this tool out and you can tell within seconds that they actually haven't used that tool all that much. When on the other hand, you'll have a guy walk up and say, we're doing this board, walks up with one tool and runs everything. You can tell immediately when somebody knows how to use their stuff. So if you're carrying all this gear and you don't actually know how to use it effectively, it's kind of a giant waste. The point isn't to shame anyone who's carrying all this stuff. The point is that you should practice and use your stuff so that you know how to use it when you actually need it. Get to know your tools and the stuff that you carry, and with a little bit of ingenuity, you'll actually probably find that you can get by with carrying a lot less than you think. The next mistake that you should avoid is not maintaining your gear. This might seem like a really small point, but it can go a very, very long way, especially if you are new to the knife world. Small, quick, regular maintenance of your EDC gear is actually a lot quicker and easier to do, and it will save you a repair down the road. But if you take a knife and you put it through hell and you do no maintenance to it, eventually that knife edge is gonna get dull. You will eventually have to totally resharpen that knife, or maybe even reprofile the edge on that knife, whereas regular maintenance would be a lot quicker and easier, but also having to sharpen or reprofile removes more material than regular maintenance would have. So it also will shorten the lifespan of your knife. But they also say that a dull knife is more dangerous than a sharp knife. And that's true, because to make the same cut with a dull knife, you have to push a lot harder than you would have to with a knife that's sharp. So not only is it more dangerous, it's also going to shorten the lifespan of your knife, but it's also going to take up more of your time, because sharpening a knife takes a lot longer than short, regular touch-ups. Touching up a knife with a ceramic rod and a strop can take 30 seconds to a minute at most, and I do it several times a week, and it will save you a lot of time over time, and maybe even save your knife, and maybe even your finger. But maintenance isn't something that's specific to just knives. It applies to all of our EDC gear, but something like boots. If you have leather boots, you should be oiling those and cleaning those regularly, and that will also lengthen their lifespan. And since we're talking about regular maintenance, it's a perfect time for me to tell you about our channel sponsor, Worksharp. I've been using their stuff for years, but this is the tool I use the absolute most. This is the guided field sharpener, and this is what I use when I'm talking about a ceramic rod and a leather strop. I carry one of these in my bag. I have them in my truck. I have them everywhere. Go check out Worksharp. They also have the quest going on right now. Our friend Zach Whitmore, Zach in the Wild, is going around the country hiding boxes all over. Go find one. It's a lot of fun. You're gonna enjoy it. I also want to thank Huckberry. If you've noticed in recent videos, I've been wearing some different stuff, and that's because it's from our channel sponsor, Huckberry. This shirt right here is a Willis button down. I really like their button downs from Willis. Also, the shirt underneath this is the Proof 72-hour merino wool shirt. It's my favorite t-shirt ever. They also have a lot of other stuff, knives and other EDC gear. Go check out Huckberry in the link down below. And last but not least, we have Big Idea Design. They've been supportive of this channel for as long as this channel has been around. They are great people and great friends, and they make amazing gear. And I have a coupon code, carry on, 10% off. Use my code, don't use Ricky's. He has his own code. My code's better. My code's better. My code's better. And the final mistake in EDC is taking things too seriously. I see it so often. People get worked up over this or that, the specs, what knife is better, why they hate Benchmade, whatever it is. People get so worked up and angry about it sometimes. And we're all here for the same reason. We all found this space because we're all interested in gear. And there's not a real reason to ever be upset about any of this stuff. You know, there's some drama and controversy in the knife world. That's fine. But to one another, I mean, I don't understand why some people get so worked up over things. It's just gear at the end of the day. It's knives and pocket tools and sometimes pocket jewelry and flashlights. It's nothing to really get worked up about. Some people get in a little bit too deep. They get a little bit too aggressive or preachy, but at the end of the day, it's all gear and we're all here to appreciate it and have a good time. There's no real right or wrong. Nobody has all the answers. So just stop worrying about what other people do and carry what makes you happy, carry what works best for you, and stop trying to live up to the status quo of some of the other people in the industry. It doesn't make sense. This is not why we're here. We're here to show and share our own experiences, not fall in line with everybody else. It gets really boring when everybody's doing the exact same thing. I really much prefer it when everybody is doing their own thing and sharing and learning from one another. And remember, yes, all this stuff is really, really cool. I love knives. I don't love them any less than I used to. All this gear, I mean, I got into this because I love all of this, and it's really, really great. But the best part is the community. Ask anybody who's been to a blade show or any of these custom knife shows. The people are why we keep coming back. The gear is cool, it's why we all congregate, but the reason we all come back is the community. This is one of the best communities in the world. I'm so happy to be part of it, and you should be too. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot more fun when we all get together and just have a good time. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what other mistakes you have found or come across in your time in the community in the comments down below. I'll see you guys in the next video, and until then, carry on.